since I've been on a little bit of a Stephen King kick lately, I thought that I would put together a list of middle grade books that would be great for fans of Stephen King or future fans of Stephen King. I haven't read as many Stephen King books as, say, Ian Goobly or folks like that. But I have read a few, and I've seen enough Stephen King films that I am familiar with a number of the tropes that he uses in his books. And so as I was sitting down to put this list together, I thought, what are the tropes that would be most appropriate and are found in middle grade book? Stephen King uses a lot of small town nostalgic feelings. If you've read The Body or you've read It or seen the movie, you know that takes place in a small town and it's very nostalgic. So there's that. There's also usually supernatural beings that want to make a deal with you. I know that folks have talked a great deal about the book Needful Things, where a shopkeeper moves into town and offers people things in exchange for a favor later. So there's that. There's also monsters in a great number of Stephen King's books. So all of those tropes can be found in the middle grade books I'm going to recommend. Now, I do want to tell you, not all of these books are horror books. Not all of these books are scary. But they do fit the feeling or the vibe of what it's like to read a Stephen King book or watch the movie. So these are in no particular order, but I thought I would just share some of my favorites with you that I think fit this theme well. The first one being The Wishgiver by Bill Brittain. This is a book that was written a number of years ago. It was a Newbery Award winner, and it's about a guy named Thaddeus Blinn who comes to town with the carnival, and he offers several people anything they want. They can make one wish of anything they want, and that's it. They just have to give him a quarter or a nickel, or I forget how much it was. But in exchange, he gives them a card and tells them, just press the circle on the card and you can have whatever your heart's desire is. Well, you can imagine that there are some stipulations to that. When the folks who get the cards make their wish is granted exactly the way that they asked for, but maybe not necessarily in the way they intended. And so one girl, she wishes to be known and popular all throughout town, and she gets her wish, but not in the way she hoped for. There was another girl who was in love with a traveling salesman, and she wishes that he would put down roots and stay there forever, which ends up happening. And then another one, the young man wishes that he never has to. Had something. His family lived on a farm, and there was no water on the farm, and so he wished that he never had to carry water again. And all of these wishes come true, but there is a disastrous result because of it. And that's The Wishgiver by Bill Brittain. I love this book. I've read it several times, many times. Very enjoyable book. The next one that I think would be great for Stephen King fans is one I recently read, and that's the book Grin by D.W. Gillespie. And this is about a young man who loves video games, and he gets the opportunity to go spend a week with his uncle, who has an arcade. And the night as he's traveling to the arcade with his mom, where she's going to drop him off, he is listening to a podcast about a supposedly haunted video game. Well, when he arrives at his uncle's arcade, his uncle says, "Hey, I got something to show you. This is really exciting." And he takes him into the warehouse where all the new games arrive. And there it is, the supposedly haunted video game called Grin. And they take it out and they plug it in. And this is the weirdest game anybody's ever played. It's a horror game, and there's all kinds of disturbing things that are seen in it. And everybody who plays the game suddenly starts to act on their baser feelings. If they're angry, they get so much angrier. And as when they go outside of the arcade, there's this dark storm clouds over top of the arcade. It's just something's not right with the game. And so the young man, he and his new friend, he had this friend before and she moved away. Well, it turns out she happens to live where the uncle does. They are trying to investigate what's going on with the video game before anything bad can happen. This book was fantastic. It was very scary at times, very enjoyable read. If you like books about things that are haunted, there were some really tense moments. D.W. Gillespie knows how to write some tense moments. Definitely check out Grin. Next up was a book called Give Me Something Good to Eat, also by D.W. Gillespie. And this is a group of 4 kids who live in a town that just goes nuts for Halloween every year. The reason that they go nuts for Halloween is because while all of the celebration and frenzy is going on, a kid is kidnapped and taken away from the town, and suddenly nobody remembers that kid ever existed. And on this particular night, one of the group of friends, his little brother is the one that is selected to go. And they end up, the child is then taken to what's kind of like an upside down version of the town that they live in. And it's inhabited by monsters. And that the child is then used to appease the monsters to be able to protect the town for another year. It's kind of gruesome if you think about it. But the young man and his friends then do their very best to try to rescue the little brother before things can go badly. Fantastic book. This one just as scary as Grin. These are both recommended to me. Give Me Something Good to Eat was recommended to me by my friend Sean Stevenson at Sean Stevenson Books, and definitely worth checking out. Another book that I read, and I haven't seen this one around. It just happened to be at my school's library, and I picked it up, and that's called The Absence of Sparrows by Kirchmeier. And this particular book is about 2 brothers who live in a town called Griever's Mill, I think it is. And one day they get word that there's something happening and adults are turning to glass. They just turn into this like obsidian glass. They go about their business. They're trying to be safe. They're trying to protect their family and stuff when the unthinkable happens and their father turns to glass. And as a result of that, their mother suffers a breakdown, and she's no longer really able to make decisions. And while that's taking place, there seems to be there's this radio broadcast that is sending out theories and conspiracies about what's happening with the glass and what people should do. And I got to tell you, for a children's book, this one was dark. It was very much a slow burn. So this was definitely not one that was fast paced and went through. And they're getting all of this information about this worldwide cataclysm of people turning to glass, and some of them burst, some of them break, and then there's this theory of, well, how do we end this? Maybe everybody who is made of glass, maybe we should break them. And so the boys are conflicted on what to do, given the fact that their father is made of glass. And I got to tell you, the ending of this was so tragic, the way that it ended. But this perfectly reminded me of the book The Stand and the story The Mist, both of them by Stephen King, and not knowing what's going on or why it's happening. Definitely check that one out, The Absence of Sparrows by Kirchmeier. Another book that is very similar to The Wishgiver, just a little bit darker, is a book called The Night Gardener by Jonathan Auxier. And it's about this brother and sister who are orphans, and they go to work at this manor house as servants. They go to work there, and they're told never go in this room. So what do? They go in the room, and they find in that room there's a tree that will give them anything that they desire. give them anything that they want, but it comes at a cost. And so they have to figure out how to escape from the clutches or the desires of this tree that will give them give them whatever they want. But like I said, it comes at a deadly cost. I absolutely love this book. It was so atmospheric. It was moody. The night gardener, the kind of the supernatural creepy monster thing that was in there was added, was very sinister, I guess is the best way to put it. Definitely worth checking out. And then this one, the next two, they're not spooky books. They're not horror books at all. They're actually, I put them on the list because of the small town vibe. The first one is 3 Times Lucky by Sheila Turnage. And that is the story of a girl named Mo who, in the middle of a hurricane, she was found by someone she calls the Colonel. And so he raises her, but the entire time that he's raising her, she's trying to find out who her real mother is. And there's mysteries that go on in the town. Everybody knows everybody's business. Everybody's involved. They all gather at the cafe to discuss things. Just lots of quirkiness, lots of fun. 3 Times Lucky was great. There's 2 other books. I think there might actually even be three other books. But that was the one that I enjoyed the most. So definitely check that one out. That's called 3 Times Lucky by Sheila Turnage. And then I also put on this list a new one, just came out recently, called Secrets of the Broken House by Taryn Souders. And this, again, is a small town mystery where a group of kids are trying to discover there's this mean old lady, and she was murdered, and they're trying to discover what, because they were doing some work at her house. She had promised them a boat if they did the work, and so they want to get their boat. But the one morning when they show up, they find her dead, and now they're trying to figure out who is responsible for it. Again, I picked this one not because it's scary, but because it has that nostalgic small town vibe. I didn't even grow up in a small town, and I love books about small town life. The last one that I have on the list it's actually a quartet, so it's 4 books, and that is the Small Spaces Quartet by Catherine Arden. There are 4 books in the series. There is Small Spaces, which takes place in the fall. There is Dead Voices, which takes place in the winter. There is Dark Waters, which is a spring book. And then there is Empty Smiles, which is a summer book. And in this story, or in these books, it's a story of a group of friends who are on a field trip when suddenly they're menaced by someone they know as the Smiling Man. So in the first one, in Small Spaces, they're being chased through a cornfield by scarecrows, and they have to figure out how to escape from the Smiling Man and be able to get back to their field trip and get everybody turned back to normal. And of course, nobody believes them that all of this happened after the fact. The second one, which is Dead Voices, it actually takes place in winter, and they're at a deserted ski lodge that happens to be haunted, and there are ghosts. Sound familiar? This is very much like The Shining. That's what I thought about as I was reading. I was like, this is The Shining for kids. The third one, Dark Waters, is probably the least of the Stephen King esque, but it fits what's going on. And they are going on a fishing trip to an island, and suddenly the island is surrounded by fog, and there is an axe-wielding man, ghost, what monster, something is on the island that is chasing them. And then in the last one, this one terrified me. It takes one of the girls at the end of the third one sacrificed herself so that her friends and family could go free. She becomes a guest of the Smiling Man, and she's trying to figure out how to escape. Meanwhile, her friends are trying to figure out where she is, and there is a carnival that's coming to town. And what do carnivals bring? They bring fortune tellers, they bring clowns, they bring all kinds of things. This book was terrifying. Sometimes I like to go out and walk around my neighborhood reading my Kindle, and that way I can read and get my steps in at the same time. And I happen to be reading this one at night. It was in the fall, and bad idea to read about kids getting chased by clowns at night when it's dark outside. But that is the Small Spaces Quartet by Catherine Arden. So those are the books that, if you are a Stephen King fan and you're interested in middle grade, you're a middle grade reader, and you want to, you maybe don't want to necessarily dive into Stephen King because of some of the content or some of the language that you've heard. Definitely check these books out. Any of the books on the list here are all enjoyable. I highly recommend all of them. They were very fun to read. Even An Absence of Sparrows, which was, like I said, it was probably the darkest middle grade book I've ever read, especially the ending. So tragic. But definitely check them out. And if there's a book that you think fits one of these Stephen King tropes or Stephen King vibes that happens to be middle grade, leave that title down in the comments. I'm sure that once people have worked their way through this, they'll want to check those books out. I'd be interested. Maybe there's one that I haven't read yet that I would definitely like to take a look at as well. But leave those down in the comments. Let me know your thoughts on anything that I mentioned here in the video. I love having the conversation, keeping up the community here. I'll put some videos up here, up on either side of my head, so you can take a look at. I'll put a link to my review of The Night Gardener by Jonathan Auxier, and I will also put a link to the video of the Stephen King books that I have read, so you can see which ones I've read. And let me know your thoughts on that as well. And as always, my name is Jonathan. This is Mr. Pearson Talks Books, and we'll see you next time.